Can you spot anything unusual about this gravestone? This has been the site of a lot of controversy, and there's a particular part of this that's been vandalised and repaired on several occasions. This is the resting place of world-renowned poet Sylvia Plath, who was married to another world-renowned poet, Ted Hughes. And they both lived through a lot of tragedy, Ted eventually cheating on Sylvia, leaving her for another woman, and not too long after that, she took her own life. And it's this, combined with accusations of domestic violence and the fact that Ted inherited and destroyed some of Sylvia's unpublished writings, that have left a lot of people feeling very angry about the idea of seeing his name on her gravestone. It's a long and complex history. Their last remaining child, in fact, Frida, has been very outspoken in saying that she feels like her father Ted was very unfairly judged and that frankly it's none of anybody else's business. And rightly or wrongly, this is a story that's spilled out into the public domain, and to this day a lot of people feel very strongly about it. So as you can see, a lot of pens and pencils left here in tribute of Sylvia, and if we get a bit closer you can see the Hughes that has been defaced. And as I mentioned, it's been repaired on a number of occasions. And from what I can see today and from what I've heard and read, it just keeps happening again and again. Ted is no longer alive, he's not buried here. And when he was still alive, he did comment on the controversy. One of the things he said was that at death, Sylvia's legal name was in fact Sylvia Hughes because they were still married. And so he felt he'd kind of done the honourable thing in including Plath, her original surname, on the gravestone, Sylvia Plath Hughes. And this is only really pieced together from a few interviews, but he seemed to hold some similar views to their daughter Frida, that the public had just kind of hyped up and jumped on this story with minimal information and made it into something bigger than it really was. On the other side of it, I can understand the anger and the passion that a lot of people feel. I won't try and retell the whole story, I'll probably get some of it wrong, but you know, a lot of things did happen, and that kind of passion and anger, it's easy to understand from my perspective. The name of the place we're in today is Heptonstall. There's some other kind of unusual things here, something behind this church in fact. And if you're not familiar with Sylvia, this might seem like an unusual place for her to be buried, because she was in fact an American poet. Again, sparing you all the details because there's a great many of them that are better told by other people. She eventually made her way here through her relationship with Ted, and this became her final resting place. There is another church, the old church behind this one, which we're going to see in a second, what's left of it at least. And there's another interesting grave that we're going to try and find. What kind of dates we got here? 1911, recent-ish. Anyone who's ever seen the film Hot Fuzz, you're going to know immediately where this story's going. It says this pinnacle was struck down by lightning from the southwest corner of this tower on April 5th, AD 1875. Now luckily, as far as I can tell at least, this one, unlike in the film, didn't land on somebody's head. And any film buffs out there, you might know if there was any inspiration for that scene, maybe it's connected to this. Maybe this happened a lot back then, I don't know. Somebody can tell me. Now this is the old church, we can see ahead as well. Oh wow, that is a lot of gravestones. Now we're looking for the grave of somebody called David Hartley. I'm a bit apprehensive to walk on top of these, but people do that. And it looks like the only way to the entrance of the church anyway. We're not going to read all this, don't panic. I do find it a little weird that the cost contained the number 666. Surely they should have just popped another pound on there. This is a religious site, after all. Now David Hartley, if we can find him, was the leader of a group called the Cragg Vale coiners. And they were notorious for counterfeiting coins. And what they did was chipped and shaved coins, and they used the excess materials from those to forge new coins, fakes. And they got away with it for quite a long time, until eventually somebody who was a part of their crew basically dobbed them in, and they got found out. Somebody was assigned to investigate them. Now they discovered that they were being investigated. It doesn't end there. And they had this man killed, shot and killed, which it turns out escalated the whole situation further. And eventually they were all rounded up and hung. Some of them in York, maybe all in York actually, I need to check that. It'll be a shame if we don't find it. I did look online just now, I didn't see much. We'll have another go when we come out. So this is the old church. We've got the old church tower. I should have brought a rubbish bag. I don't know a lot about this, but I wanted to show it to you while we're here. I'm not a historian, I'm not qualified, I haven't studied these subjects. I'm just going to places in Yorkshire, which is where I live, and trying to learn as I go along so that I can share some interesting stories with you all. The only thing I do know about this place is that it was the weather that took it out in the first place, and rather than repairing and reconstructing, they decided to build the new church, which we can see through those archways. James Shackleton, 1946. Not so long ago. Not so long ago at all. Imagine living right next to this. There's a load of residential houses just along the edge of the graveyard. My God, my nose looks red. I look like an alcoholic. That's just the consequence of having a big nose in the cold winter weather. Now this is the one. Should have been obvious in hindsight. It's covered in coins. So we got David Hartley, 1770, WH 1789. I feel a bit uncomfortable walking on these gravestones, but that's obviously how people attend these graves. Not really sure where I am anymore. There's chickens everywhere. Sounds a little bit sinister. Right, I'm going to get packed up and head out. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time, hopefully.